Hello, Gareth here, Gareth Naylor, watercolour artist, and also I have lovely hair too. So I've been painting this picture. Well, this is my original picture and I've tried to improve it because I think it's not quite right. So I had another go. So this is a scene from Japan, Oita Prefecture, and this place is just outside the city of Beppu. So there's something about this painting that I really like. I think the lighting is beautiful, really nice. And I think this mountain in the distance and the soft reflection, I'm not sure if that's realistic, but I like it. And I just think it looks really good. And also the dry brush or sparkle in the sea. And I also love this this cluster of rocks and the way they come out from the main piece of land in this way. I think that's really nice. And looking at it now and talking about it, I can see that in the new paintings I did of this, that I didn't get it quite right. For example, the way it starts out thick and becomes just this thin line. In a way that's so obvious, isn't it? But I've painted this picture now about 10 times at least, and I didn't have it ending up being this few little dots here. And it sounds maybe stupid to talk about something like that, but as I look at it now, I can see visually that's so important. So it starts out as this big cluster and ends up with just these tiny few bits around here and here. I can see how visually that works really well. And I'm glad I did this video because I just didn't see that. I knew instinctively, this is good, this is interesting, but I couldn't understand why, logically or whatever. And now this video has helped me to put it into words. I also like this shadow. I also like the way these these ripples, these sparkles curve. They're curving because of the curve of the land, and that's very exciting. I really like that, and that's something that I did capture. And I just love the touches of light here and the glow here and the curving sparkle. And then we've got this lovely cluster of rocks and then this dark shadow. And perhaps that's too dark, but I like it. And I really haven't made the shadow, maybe it's a reflection, right? I haven't really made this reflection dark enough. And I like the way you get this cut here of light or whatever it is coming through the reflection. That's nice. What I didn't like about this painting was the tree. It's okay, but it's not quite right, and it's actually too big. This is higher and the tree is smaller. But I don't mind changing things like that if I think it works better, but I'm not sure it does. I think it doesn't quite look right. And I didn't quite like this green mass. You might like it. Let me know in the comments. My feeling is mixed. I can't decide, because in one way that green's kind of interesting. And in a way it's kind of interesting. But in my other paintings, I'm not sure if I went safer, but I turned it into a more brown, burnt sienna, a kind of browny golden kind of colour. But now I look at this, I'm not sure. I'm in two minds. Anyway, I'll show you what I did with this because it was a lot of fun. Now I might not have this in order. I'll just do my best. So I think this was the first attempt. How embarrassing. I've been painting for 20 years, and to look at this, it's like I should quit. I mean, goodness me. Okay, It's the tree, right? I had big problems trying to paint that tree, but I'll get to that later. So this is not too bad, but we haven't really got that glow effect because I haven't made the edges of this light area darker, and then it would have made it here much more glowy and yellow. I should have made these darker. So that was first mistake. Also, the dry brush is not very good for the sparkle. And then here, it's okay, but not great. And just pure rock. Not too bad, actually. But that tree is just disaster. It's a disaster. Okay, so that was the first one. Okay, then the second one. A little better. You can see I've got the golden yellow now in the sky, and the dry brush here, the sparkle is working better. The tree is better. This brown area at the top suggesting grass is better. So overall this is a much better painting. But that background mountain is maybe a bit too dominant, right? But it's still much better. Look at that. Although this one is a bit stronger, the landmass. It's a bit darker, isn't it? And I got maybe these rocks on this face a bit better. Look a bit better. But this doesn't look very good, does it? Not like the original one. That cluster, because I haven't done, you know, it beginning big and then becoming just a few little dots, which looks great. So on to the next one. Oh my goodness, look at that tree. Anyway, the golden light didn't quite work. Mountain in the distance, it's okay. Dry brush, not so good. Here too. The rocks actually look fairly good here. And this is a little bit interesting, but I think this should become darker and darker. Start out light here and become darker and darker. I think that's better. And that tree, goodness me, why do I show these things to you? Well, I guess it's just a record to me because I'll just throw away all these paintings. Well, this one I'll do another painting on the back. The tree is too big, it's huge. It can happen when you paint fir trees because you keep getting it wrong and you've got too much water on the brush. So, yep, enough said. And then the next one. So the light is quite interesting here. You've got this lovely whiteness. The mountain in the distance is starting to look really good in this one. The dry brush, or what do I call it, sparkle, it's not so good. This cluster looks quite good. This looks good, but maybe needs to be darker here. And the tree, it's okay. It's definitely better than the last one. Of course, right? It'd be difficult to make something worse than that last tree. And I quite like this dark bit amongst the rocks. But it's all a bit, it needs something darker. It needs to be darker. It needs to be a stronger contrast. So yeah, neither here nor there. No, it's better. It's better. Okay, next one. So the mountain in the distance is great. The light is not bad. This cluster, just passing, just passable. The sparkle, still not really sparkling. This, it's okay, but it's not convincing. It's still not quite right. And the tree, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. It's not very good. Oh, I'll be happy to throw these away. Okay, so, well, I'll probably paint over the top of them and use them for doodles and stuff like that. I strongly recommend you do that. And the irony is sometimes I'll do a doodle here of like, I don't know, just a tree or a car or a figure, and actually it ends up being like a good painting by chance. that you'd never do normally. So that's just a creative hint, a really, really important creative hint. So at this stage in the painting, I realized that I wasn't painting good fir trees. And so I decided to just focus on painting fir trees, because if I paint like a beautiful sky, a beautiful sea, beautiful rocks and mountain, and then I paint this really awful fir tree, then that's a lot of wasted effort. So an important point, maybe this is obvious, Mickey Mouse stuff, right? But maybe it's not, I don't know. But if there's a difficult thing in your painting, or a tricky thing, or something that you're not painting very well, then on your scrap paper, just paint that thing again and again and again until you figure out how to paint it reasonably well. So you're not just wasting your time and painting a great picture and then spoiling it because one thing you can't paint well. So there's another great tip. So what happened is I painted lots of these. I'm not actually showing you everything I did. There's a few more things that I did that I'm not showing you. I think this is where we hit the jackpot. Yeah, because look, I did some more, not quite working. I did some more, Unbelievable. But this is what I mean. You've got to solve it. You've got to crack the problem. And you really need, another important tip, you really need to believe that you can solve the problem. Even if you're a bit of a, I don't know, C-grade student in life, like me, and at school, you've really got to believe you can solve the problem, because, you know, you are a human being, you have a human brain, you're not a monkey. And it's very likely that with enough focus, you'll find a solution. And that's a really good feeling when you do that. And it's a confidence boost. I don't like all this talk about love yourself or even hate yourself, but there is these stages of like having a problem and overcoming it, and then you get this feeling of competence. And I kind of trust that you can figure things out, and it's an essential skill. I just wish I did it in everything else, not just painting. Maybe my life be a lot better. So here I go, look at these guys. But I hope this is encouraging for you. So like when you paint a crap tree, sorry for swearing, but when you paint a bad tree, do not get downcast and think, oh, I should give up. Because look at this, 20 years of painting, and I painted a tree like that. But I also painted a tree like this. If you, whoops, just a minute. If you continue, you will get there. It's a lot about having faith. It's a lot about believing that if you focus on the problem, you will eventually solve it, that you are capable of doing that. And also, I did solve the problem, and this is how I did it, and common sense again. But artists, you know, we don't always have a lot of common sense, guys. Well, sometimes we don't, right? And sometimes we forget the basics because we get so involved in things that we forget about simple stuff. So what I did was I just went to Google and I typed in fir trees, and I saw these silhouettes of fir trees, and I didn't have to photocopy or anything. I just looked at the shape. Of course, there's many different kinds of fir tree shapes, but this is the kind I liked. This is the kind I thought, I can do this and it will look good. And basically this one is a kind of line going down. I think I used a kind of small bamboo brush. I like them compared to round brushes because you can get better edges, rough edges. And what I did is a line going down, and then I do a few lines at the top, and then some more lines curved like this, but a bit thicker, and then some more below that, and you leave these gaps. Can you see these this stem? But this is the trick. You carry on leaving these gaps, but then you start to fill in those gaps and they get slightly thicker, 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 thicker. You get it? And that was the trick. So I had to look and work it out, yeah? And another thing I tried to do was, first of all, I used something like phthalo blue and a dark brown like burnt sienna or burnt umber. Yeah. And then I tried to drop in touches of cobalt green. And it can work, but sometimes it didn't work. So if you do it just one colour, you'll probably have a fairly good looking tree. But I wanted to make one side a bit lighter so the sun was catching it. But you don't have to do that. You know, take these things, don't try and do too much too soon. Don't overdo it. If it's like becoming too painful and the joy's going out of it. Sometimes just keep it simple and do a nice painting. And here's some more practice. This is previous, this is previous stuff and this is previous stuff. But it gives you an idea of the kind of effort sometimes I have to put into a painting to make it work. And I must be a bit rubbish, to be honest, because I think a lot of artists, they just paint the picture and it's done. I mean, not me. Okay, I'm going to stop this video now because it's getting way too long, and then we'll just continue in a minute.